What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and 0.2 brought a lot of new and fun weapons to use in Nightingale, with the blunderbuss and its wild movement options, the throwing knife and its massive amounts of style, and the grenades, which are literal weapons of mass destruction. But what if I told you there were two more weapon types added to the game that you might not know about? Well, today, let's discuss how to use both the lantern and the torches for combat. The torch becomes a new utility weapon when paired with the right materials, becoming a real poor man's lantern, with the ability to spread fire chip damage to weaker enemies. And the lantern? This becomes the slap of death and destruction, as the more times you slap an enemy with your lantern, the more damage it will do, to the point of doing tens of thousands of damage when paired with crits. So today, I'll show you a few torch builds, as well as how to get the most out of torch combat, and then I'll show you the raw power of a pure damage-based lantern. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Nightingale content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stick around. So first, for our torch builds, the way you build a torch is with plant fiber and sticks. For plant fiber, you have a few options. You'll want to pass on swamp fiber, either going with forest for health and HP regen, or desert for stamina and stamina regen. But you can also try out some other combinations, like britomart locks for a small magic buff, or I believe flax has crit damage that you could possibly use to your advantage too. Then for sticks, all we have the option of are crude sticks, though it would be cool to maybe have an opportunity to get tiered sticks in the game, like swamp, desert, and forest sticks. But either way, you could craft a torch at any point, though now that they're an infinite tool instead of an ammo-based throwable, you only really need to make one torch. And you could see in our stats that the makeshift torch is boosting our stamina and its regen, which is pretty nice. If you were in the early game, you could maybe use lower tiered fibers to make an early HP regen source this way. The only shame is that you can't upgrade a torch, so no infusions either. But still, as an early game option, torches are now pretty sweet after 0.2 added the ability to give new stats to tools. But still, the stamina boost and especially its regen is actually really solid here. So now let's take this torch out and show how to best use it for combat. So throwing your torch has always been in the game since launch, but I can't remember if it always did damage like this. It was certainly something I never thought to test until my good buddy Gain wound up finding it out, so shoutouts to my dude. But it's something a lot more interesting with the way stat changes interact now in 0.2. After some testing, it seems even though it shows ranged damage for the torch, it works on some weird damage that only scales to your crit. So if you want to use these efficiently for combat, you have to get good at getting headshots with your throws. I was hoping maybe with magic on the torch that it would increase the fire damage, but that seems to be locked at just 5 damage per tick. The base damage can be boosted by charms, like Patience, but the real way to get good damage is with crits, where we could see our damage getting up to a good couple hundred here. Since we can't upgrade our base damage, even if we get crazy crit on ourselves, we'll never be able to use these for much outside of the early game, but it's a fun little tool, and a nice way to give yourself a challenge in the late game. And look it, with proper setup, 1400 ain't too bad for a makeshift item. Also, as you saw in the intro, as this is considered a ranged weapon, even if it doesn't scale off your ranged stat, you could still use this to activate pylons, but then it becomes more a test of your accuracy than your memory. Alright, so now for the lantern, my favorite weapon of the day. We're going to build the strongest lantern possible here, using diamond for the molded glass, then Adv Lacunus for the wire, then for the lumber, tier 5 forest wood, then to make the grip, we'll make the straps out of tier 3 Beelzeboar and use that for the leather as well. And then we'll put together the handle, first off by gilding our forest lumber with Adv Lacunus, making our Fasteners from Adv Lacunus 2, slapping together a pole and then a handle. And with this build, we get the godlike melee stat of 13.2. A little underwhelming, but unlike the torch that was stuck as a common item, we can upgrade this bad boy to epic, and then we wind up with a melee stat of 55.8. Still a little underwhelming. Though I'm not gonna lie, and pardon the pun here, but this thing slaps. It's really good when you get a combo of like 4 or 5 hits on something, because then you're doing your damage like 15 times over. I don't know who thought of putting this combo thing on the lantern, but they deserve a raise, man. And when you pair this with Arborist Shield and just face tank hits while slapping away, you can actually melt things, which is hilarious. Like, alright, let's freeze frame here. Not only are we doing, 8 times the damage and hitting crits, but we got a mercy kill in there for almost 1 million damage. Even the game took pity on this poor elephant. And even this bishop. Normally they're a pretty tough enemy on extreme, but not in comparison to getting critted like 23 times at once. The only problem with the lantern swing, it's kinda janky. Just a little bit. And if you swing too fast, you do this weird kind of wiggle your arm sort of thing, and you don't do any damage. But it's the price to pay, I guess, for this one. But overall, this weird weapon, if you could call it that, is surprisingly effective for taking down all sorts of enemies in the game. So, yeah, maybe not the weapons you expected here, but it's the weapons you got with the lantern and its wacky combo system and how you can stack wild amounts of damage with it, to the torch with its ability to burn enemies for a small bit of chip damage, and more importantly, the ability to hit crits and feel kind of weird about it. So these might not be weapons you'd actively choose to go out and do something like fight a sun giant with, but with them, you can really prove that with enough determination, even David could slay Goliath here in Nightingale, and with a lantern no less. So, thank you for watching, hopefully you enjoyed and try some of these out, but for now, I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.